Okay, so it's clear that the worldview impact is far reaching. So let's hone in then on those 13 or so lessons that you've been working on. And by the way, it is really hard to find good, solid materials from a biblical worldview to teach students about
Yes.
AI. Okay,
Yes.
so now all of a sudden, poof, here we have something. So talk to us. Where did you start? Are there specific biblical principles that guided your work, or where did this come from? Back us up a little bit and bring us into those lessons.
Right, right. To your point about it being difficult to find material, when we were trying to find videos to support the
Oh,
AI-oriented work that we were doing in these lessons, there's just nothing out there.
yeah, I
I
bet
mean,
not.
we
No.
we we would watch one and be, "Well, it's pretty good, but, no, it's
Guess
not
you're
gonna
gonna have
work."
to make some, Chuck, sorry.
Right, I guess so, I don't know. Um, as far as specific biblical principles, I will, uh, mention it in greater detail later, but in our worldview work at the press, we've laid out a really robust treatment of technology, and we've tried to bring biblical principles to bear on the area. I've mentioned some of them already, um, but as to specific principles that inform my work, let me give three major ones. There are others, but these are significant ones. The first one is really specific to AI's ability to relate to us in a way that seems very personal.
Mm.
Now, this is old news to you, I'm sure, but I discovered a month ago when have my Copilot app on my phone open, and I rarely use it, but I asked it a question verbally. And in real time, it responded to me verbally in a very human sounding voice with
Yes.
all the proper
It's like a phone
inflection.
call.
It is. It was amazing. And it's not a
Scary.
product thing that it's giving back to me. It's creating this as it goes. And it's expressing it to me in an entirely human sounding voice.
Yep.
All that to say, when AI chatbots present themselves, they present themselves as very human sounding. So the biblical principle that we bring to this characteristic of AI is that God created us to live in community with others as his image bearers. The way it works itself out is that the sort of relationships that God made us for involve him and his image bearers. When God made us to live in community, that doesn't involve a community of chatbots. Chatbots do not think, they do not love, they do not pray, they do not worship. And when we have relationships with other people, we are meant to have relationships with image bearers. So that's a principle is we'll talk about it a bit later, I think, but
Yeah, it's
that's a
excellent.
principle that really helps us as we interact with AI and think about it, and it has a lot of implications for things. So when I started using AI myself, I would put a prompt in, and just out of force of habit, I would say, please, to start things. And I
I do
read
that
somebody's
too.
blog post, and the person said, "When I use AI, I never say please because I don't want to fall into thinking it's a person."
Yeah.
I thought that is a good impulse right there. When we treat AI as a person, we're not treating it as according to its real nature. That can be a real problem. When people develop what they think of as relationships with AI, when it's merely um, a predictive technology that's giving you answers back, that is problematic. Understanding the nature of AI helps us with that. So the biblical principle, God created us in his image to live in community with others, with himself, and with other image bearers. So a healthy thing to ask about AI and really our tech in general, and it's a question we raised in our cyber smart lessons. How does technology and our use of it affect the important relationships that God means for us to have? I'll get more into that after a bit in our conversation, but that is a really important point to bring
Yeah,
out.
that's excellent.
So that's one biblical principle. A
Okay.
second key principle that biblical teaching helps us to discern, and one that's been really formative for our work, is that technologies express values. They embody them and they express them. And those values that are baked into our various technologies, they lead to certain tendencies on the part of those who use the technology. I stated it at a fair bit of length there, but that's an important thing to grab hold of.
Very.
So the technology of writing, for instance,
Mhm.
we don't tend to think of that as a technology because it's not digital, but it is a technology broadly speaking. The technology of writing values precision. and permanence. Our conversation is being recorded, but if we were just talking over the table and no recording was going on and we weren't taking notes, I would have to rely on my memory and maybe what you could give back to me if we were to
Sure.
recall a conversation, right?
Yeah.
The technology of writing changed that. It meant that we could make notes
Right.
and go back and look at them. So there's permanence there. In Deuteronomy, God commanded the king of Israel to make a copy of God's law and to keep it with him so he could refer to it during his reign. The technology of writing values permanence, and the kings of Israel were to take advantage of that technology and the permanence that it encouraged and to use it to good purpose. That's some biblical teaching that underlies this broader principle. Technologies express values that lead to tendencies in those that use them. When it comes to AI and other technologies, any technology really, the thing to ask is, what does this technology value? Who made it? What did they bake into it? What is it optimized to do? And what tendencies does that encourage on our part? We'll get into that a little bit more later, but
Yeah.
that's an
Good
important principle
questions. Mhm.
grounded in scripture.
These are
And a
great.
third one, related to the second one, this has been foundational for our work in the cyber smart lessons as a whole. And that is that what technology amplifies, and we've used that word a couple of times in the podcast already, what technology amplifies in the way of our abilities, our powers, it also numbs, or we could say atrophies. So it allows us to do things in a stronger or more extended way. It amplifies our
Sure.
abilities in certain ways. But as it does that, it also lessens our inherent skill and ability.
Mhm.
That's important to grasp as well.
Enjoyed this short clip? That was just a sneak peek into a full episode on the Teacher Edition podcast. We are passionate about supporting Christian educators like you. Looking for more inspiration and practical strategies you could use today? Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.
Brought to you by BJU Press.